Hello, Erica. How do you do?
I am fine, thank you. Why are you looking so sad?
Yeah, Jaireen, is this all about our final examination day?
Actually, yes. I'm worried about the final examination. What about your preparation?
I'm doing well with my studies. I'm overly concerned about my exam.
If that's the case, girls, we can have a group study like sharing information and lessons that we have learned.
That's a good idea. Let me share my knowledge regarding on lesson 1, 2, and 4.
And I'm going to discuss lesson 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, great. So I will be the one to share some of my knowledge from lesson 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so let's get started. In lesson 1, we watched the movie titled The Outrage. The sarcastic debunking of the justification for survival as the highest value is a central theme. The servant overcomes his moral conflict by renunciating all morality. He merely follows a long history of people who take advantage of others to survive. The irony of the situation is a woman's defense for robbing dead becomes his defense for robbing her. A cruel world devoid of moral principles. There cannot be morality if the main consideration is survival.
Therefore, things are really not as they appear, and observing it all come together with the collision of value system, perspective, as well the interpretation of truth, especially the way it can be adversely affected so conveniently and take on the entire different form, is a part of the fun, in a sense of the horror understanding how evil man or woman can be.
Lesson 2, we watch the movie which is Doing Time, Doing Vipassana. These studies serve as the evidence for the idea that personal change is the first step in society change. Simple sermons cannot affect social transformation, and textbook lectures alone cannot instill to students the virtues of discipline and self control. Criminals won't behave better because the fear of punishment. The punitive tactics won't be able to end caste and sectarian strife. The shortcomings of the such endeavors are many throughout history. The individual is the key. He or she must be treated with consideration and empathy and taught to be better themselves, not by being urged to uphold moral principles, but being given a sincere desire to do so. He has to be taught that to examine himself and to start a process that can change him and result in mental cleansing. The only change that will last is this one. The human mind as well as the character can be altered through Vipassana. All who truly want to put forth an effort have the opportunity. On the other hand, in lesson 4, Gandhi encouraged us to abandon our eagerness for fame, wealth, authority, and ego in favor of walking with the poor, simplifying our lives, praying to God every day, practicing nonviolence in all aspects. The publicity advocating for the abrogation of nuclear weapons, Star Wars, war on its own, economic hardship, racial prejudice, gender discrimination, malnourishment, and death penalty, abortion, sanctions on Iraq, rifles and shotguns, environmental devastation, joblessness, religious bigotry, wildlife enslavement, and violence. He demands nothing less than a radical makeover for our existence and our world.
Thanks, Jerian. It looks like you are reviewing well. By the way, in Lesson 5, Aung San Suu Kyi promotes nonviolent resistance, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. She localizes this concept from Buddhist perspective. In 1989 essay entitled In Quest for Democracy, she evaluates a traditional set of saying on duties of king and demonstrate. However, many of these were supportive of democracy, of the kind that she relates to responsibility. regard for public sentiment, as well as superiority of only laws.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, who is your model leader, Erica?
Mandela, because he was a remarkable leader in part because he did not support injustice, unfairness, or the oppression of minorities. For instance, while attending Port Hare University, Mandela became aware of discrimination in the initial consultation of student representatives. Mandela was expelled by government for his efforts to promote democracy at the university. Mandela was an excellent leader because he sacrificed his chance to continue his study at university to promote democracy. In Lesson 6, we watched a video entitled Happiness. It is a brilliant equivalency to life on Earth, recounts the tale of rodents' never-ending search for fulfillment and happiness. Every man is truly happy until happiness becomes a purpose. I believe that such a short film concerning rats is a fantastic depiction of human happiness and life. It all starts with alcohol and drugs. Ultimately, the rat hands the money, which might be interpreted as a metaphor for happiness, until everything ends up at a desk of work. I believe the money represents happiness, and that's really not worth pursuing when you're so comparable to it.
That it shows who have been doing to chase happiness for so long. Once they eventually find it, they just cannot see its attraction and no longer matters about it. When the rat departs the elevator, it begins pursuing the money until it becomes entangled in a mousetrap and is forced to work. Perhaps this represents the rat's willingness to work until something dies. And the reason it works, aside from the fact that it is held captive, is to earn sufficient money to purchase short-term and fleeting happiness.
Furthermore, when the rat indulged in more physical possessions, the fulfillment it provided was fleeting, causing the rat to quickly move into their other things. Individuals seem to have forgotten that this life is fleeting and that we should not prioritize acquiring as several materialistic things as possible. Rather, we should focus on modesty, remaining humble, being charitable, and attempting to reach out to those who in need for an assistance, right?
In Lesson 7, according to Augustine, there never was nor be justice in Rome, or indeed anywhere else on earth. God didn't give good people wealth and power, and nor did he necessarily condemn those who lacked them. For Hume, trying to debate religion rationally was the height of stupidity and conceit. He just came to the conclusion that we are not beneath definite individuals that reason would have us believe we are and that we appear to be when we look in the mirror. He was a common sense advocate and skeptic of philosophy. Sartre is acutely aware of how much we as society and as individuals still have untapped potential. He exhorts us to establish new institutions, habits, outlooks, and ideas while acknowledging the mutability of existence.
Thanks for that information. How about you, Aza?
Well, in Lesson 8, according to Buddhism, humans emerge as the result of specific conditions and causes. One of the most essential teaching is the emphasis on karma, that either refers to person's moral action in the such preceding lifetime. It is possible, according to Buddha, to create and be good. Since developing good is feasible, humans should concentrate on being good as well as developing good in themselves. Buddhism emphasizes the fact that goodness leads to human flourishing and welfare. On the other hand, Lao Tzu believed that human life, as with everything else in the universe, is continuously affected by the internal forces. He understood that the key to all truth is, well, freedom was elegance. He always welcomed all who accompanied him to perceive and attempt to comprehend the nature's law. Lastly, the Confucianism serves both conservative state orthodoxy as well the catalyst for reform. Great Confucians, such as religious leaders all over everything, decide to seek the revitalized and generate immortal intellectual as such as well the spiritual vigor of such traditional on regular basis. Maslow's hierarchy in Lesson 9 is a go-to model that explains psychology of human motivation. It will help us to spend less time guessing what makes people tick so that you can spend more time doing the things that motivate them. For Lesson 10, the giver actually took place in a community in unforeseeable future, in which sameness is valued above all else. Numerous factors have been contributed to creation of a monochromatic world. Literally, colors have been erased, in which uniqueness is crushed. As citizens, every progress is supervised from the moment of birth. Natural family members have been replaced by artificial, also known family units, and choice has also disappeared completely. People are regularly apologize and saying, I accept your apology to one another, but in a memorization way that depletes the language of meaning. The giver is a cautionary tale about just what occurs when language is monitored and restricted well protected from or for all the time in 1984, where citizens have really no language obtainable to them beyond of newspeak, and memories are lost. To conclude, in Lesson 11, now that I'm reading the Prophet again, words that I read 27 years ago still ringing in my mind as I read them again today. It was a wonderful moment for you evenings ago to find myself reciting out loud and from few memories passages that struck me then and then now to the very core. Khalil Gibran spent a couple of years revising the Prophet. Since it is a short book, the concept come across as distilled. And the influences of his native Lebanon, as well as his love of his scripture, come through the scriptural-like language, and I'm savoring this book slowly this time, taking little sip at a time.
Thank you for your time, Eric and Aza. It was such a good idea on sharing informations and knowledges about the lessons. I am hoping that we can get a high grade for this final examination.
No problem, Jorian.
Oh, so we can take some rest now. Good luck!